We hear it all the time. Identity is the new perimeter. But when we say identity, most security conversations begin and end at Active Directory and Microsoft Entra or whatever it's called. And if it's not there, doesn't exist, or at least it doesn't get monitored the same way our other identities do. But modern breaches don't always start by attacking those directories. They start by exploiting the identity sprawl that's happening everywhere else. So today let's talk about 5 ways identity is quietly expanding outside of AD and Entra, and why your CISO should care even if nothing looks broken. Every major SaaS platform now has its own identity system that includes things like admin roles and service accounts and API tokens. Most of these users authenticate once and sadly and sometimes frighteningly persist forever. They're not always synced back to our other directories, they're rarely reviewed, and they often bypass all of our central conditional access policies. So, security continues to think that identity is centralized inside of AD or Entra, but attackers think that SaaS based identities are federated chaos that they can exploit while no one notices. Here's a scary thought to think about: non human identities now outnumber human identities, and most of them were created quietly for a good reason, but probably by someone who left the company already. Non-human service accounts, they don't rotate their credentials. They're often not MFA enforced. They rarely have any sort of ownership and oftentimes have far more access than intended or needed for that matter. They don't log in like people, they don't raise alarms like people, but they definitely move data like people, only faster. This is identity sprawl without any face. CISOs rarely even think about these identities. IT and security teams might not know they ever created them in the first place. Attackers know that these powerful identities give them access to things they can definitely launch an attack from. If we look at things like AWS, Azure, and GCP, these cloud platforms often don't wait for your directory to approve identities. They create their own roles, their own policies, their own workload identities. They have access keys. I mean, they all honestly exist in parallel identity universes. Access to these platforms is granted through infrastructure as code or temporary tokens or things like role chaining. What starts as least privilege becomes inherited privilege very, very quickly. Security often sees the cloud as just another form of infrastructure, but attackers see these cloud identities as, quite frankly, the fastest way that they can get into your environment. Most of our environments are absolutely loaded with custom applications, legacy applications, and that internal tool that you built 10 years ago and forgot completely about. Authentication logic gets baked into these through the configuration file or the database behind it, or well, maybe we actually hard coded a role or two. So these identities don't expire, they don't show up in access reviews, and they really don't follow any sort of modern identity hygiene. So if AD is the front door to launch an attack, these are the much less monitored side doors that we've added on as we've continued to build our environment. The business, of course, wants their applications to run without any downtime or outages. Attackers love always on, elevated, and unwatched credentials. It's like the easy button to filling their bank accounts. Think about databases, data warehouses, data lakes, and analytics platforms. These systems often have their own native users, some sort of shared credentials, or a role based access model, maybe, but it's usually independent of your current identity program. The data inside of them is sensitive, the access granted is powerful, and the governance, well, we believe nothing should happen to this data. Our data engineers and scientists, they think that our company might have a gold mine inside of this data. But the attackers absolutely know that they have a gold mine inside of this data. And here's my closing thought. Identity didn't sprawl because security failed. It sprawled because businesses have scaled faster than security could keep up. The risk isn't that identity exists outside of AD or Entra. The risk is assuming it doesn't matter because it's outside of them. Modern identity security, it isn't about a single directory. It's about understanding who, or now what, can access data, systems, and workflows anywhere, everywhere, all the time. So if identity is everywhere, then your visibility has to be too. So as you put your identity programs together for 2026, don't forget all these places that identity exists, as this might be the exact place that the attackers are able to get into your environment. Now, I'd love to know your thoughts. Tell me what you think. Are there some that I've forgotten about that I might be missing? I'd love to hear from you. And please like and subscribe. All you got to do is just click that button. Just click that button. It would help us out tremendously. Is there a topic that you'd love us to talk about or you'd love me to dive in a little bit more? Let me know that in the comments as well, and we'll see you again next time.